Now we're going to go over the dihybrid problems. A dihybrid problem looks at two traits being passed from parents to offspring simultaneously. And we're going to talk about peas because that's one of the things that Gregor Mendel studied. Remember, he's the father of modern genetics, and he's kind of the one who discovered inheritance patterns. But he discovered that in peas, the gene for round seeds is dominant to the gene for wrinkled seeds. And he also discovered that yellow seed color is dominant to green seed color. So in this example, he makes this cross. In the pea or parent generation, he crosses something or a plant that has capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y, and he crosses it with a different plant that's small r, small y, small y. So first you have to figure out what the genotype for all of the F1 generation is. So remember, the F1 stands for first filial generation, and it's the offspring of the P generation. And so to figure that out, all you need to do is remember that this parent has to pass on one capital R. So we're going to put one of those on the line. And then they also pass on a capital Y. So we're going to put one of those on the line. And then this parent passes on a small r and a small y. So the F1 generation has the genotype capital R, capital Y, small y. And the phenotype of those individuals is that they are round and yellow. The next thing we're going to do is cross the F1 generation. So we're going to take two individuals from the F1 generation of these pea plants and we're going to mate them together. And so they're going to have the same genotype because they are from the same generation and they inherited the same genes for round and yellow seeds. So the male is going to be capital R, capital Y, small y, and the female is going to be capital R, capital Y, small y. So what we really just did was take this and write it on this line. The next question asks, what are the four possible gametes, so those, remember, are the reproductive cells, pollen grains or egg cells, that come from these plants. And a gamete has half of the genetic information of the parent. So the parent genotype has 4 letters, which means the gametes that we're going to create or discover are going to have 2 letters. And the way that you figure out those letters is by taking one letter from each trait to make pairs. So first we can have, you'll see, we have our capital R and our capital Y. That can be one gamete pair. So R, Y is one gamete pair, okay? Then the next gamete pair, you could have capital R and small y. So capital R, small y is another gamete pair that you could produce from these parents. The next one, you could have a lowercase r and a capital Y. So that's small r, capital Y. That's another gamete combination that's possible. Or you could have small r and a small y. So small r, small y is also a possibility. So there's those 4 combinations that we're going to write in the box next to where I just solved that. You should notice that each of the gametes always has one allele for seed shape and one allele for seed color. So you would never have a gamete combination of letters that has 2 R's or 2 Y's. It always has to have 1 R and 1 Y in it. So those are the 4 ways to combine those letters. Then we'll set up our Punnett square. So the gametes that we just wrote down are what are going to go in the boxes. So we're going to take our capital R, capital Y, and we're going to write that in this box together. That's one gamete or one egg cell or sperm cell, so that those stay together. And then we're going to put capital R, small y in the next box. And then we're going to put small r, capital Y in the next box, and then small r, small y in the next box. And remember, our parents are the same. We have a male and a female, but they have the same genotype. So what we wrote on the top of the box can also go on the side of the box. So again, we're going to write capital R, capital Y, capital R, small y, small r, capital Y, and small r, small y. And then you are going to fill in the boxes. This actually goes just like any other Punnett square. The difference is that this time you're going to have 4 letters in each box. And so like this first box is going to be capital R, and then capital Y, capital Y. And then the next box is going to be capital R, capital Y, small y. And then so on and so forth. So I'll fill the rest of mine in, you fill the rest of yours in, and we'll meet back instantaneously due to the magic of video. And there you have the 16 boxes of a dihybrid all filled in. So you can check your answers and make sure that your boxes are filled in the same way that mine are. It doesn't matter if you write capital letters ahead of lowercase letters or not. I simply do it because it makes the genotypes easier to read. Now that you're done with your Punnett square, we can answer questions 6 through 10. Number 6 says, what are the chances of having offspring with round yellow seeds? You should have counted and found that 9 of 16 have round yellow seeds. Then number 7 says, what are the chances of having offspring with round green seeds? And that should give you 3 out of 16. Number 8 says, what are the chances of having offspring with yellow seeds? And that would be 12 out of 16 have yellow seeds. And then number 9 says, what are the chances of having offspring with green seeds? So that would be 4 out of 16 are green. And number 10 says, what are the chances of having offspring with pure round, pure yellow seeds, which means that they're homozygous for both traits. And for that, you should have found it's 1 out of 16. The next section is about traits you see in humans. In humans, free earlobes is dominant to attached earlobes, and tongue rolling is dominant to non-tongue rolling. What are the possible genotypes of a person with free earlobes who can roll their tongue? So you want to find people who have at least one copy of the dominant allele for both traits. And you should find the following. You should have found the following combinations. You could have someone who's heterozygous for both, or homozygous for both traits, someone who's heterozygous for both traits, or someone who is homozygous for one trait and heterozygous for the other, but since they're dominant traits, they'll still express the dominant allele. Number 12 says, what is the genotype of a person with attached earlobes who cannot roll their tongue? So attached, remember, is recessive, as is the inability to roll your tongue. So they would be lowercase e, lowercase r, and they have to be homozygous for both traits because they're both recessive traits. And number 13 says, what are all of the possible genotypes of a person who can, with free earlobes, who cannot roll their tongue? And you should have 2 possibilities. They can be capital E, small r, or capital E, small r, small r. All right. Now the next question says, in a particular species of flower, tall is dominant to short, and orange petals are dominant to white petals. A plant that is homozygous tall and has heterozygous orange flowers is crossed with a flower that is heterozygous for both traits. So first, we're going to have our homozygous letters for tall, so that's capital T, and then they're heterozygous for orange, which is capital F, small f, and then the plant 2 is heterozygous for both, so they're capital T, capital F, small f. So we're going to make a Punnett square showing this cross. So first let's go over the possible gametes for these parents. So the first plant is capital T, capital F, small f. And you'll notice that I've only written down 2 possible gametes. And that's because capital T and capital F can go together. And then capital T and small f can go together. And you'll notice if we do that same thing twice with the second letter T, it gives us the same thing, capital T, capital F, and capital T, small f. And so rather than filling in all 16 boxes in my Punnett square, I just know that I don't have to repeat that. And then the other parent is heterozygous for both traits. So they're going to have 4 gametes. They're going to have capital T, capital F, or T, capital, small f, lowercase t, capital F, and lowercase t, lowercase f. So then we're going to put all of these genotypes on our Punnett square. So I'm going to put plant 1 on the side, capital T, capital F, and capital T, lowercase f. And then I'm going to put plant 2 on the top. So I'm going to put capital T, capital F, capital T, lowercase f, lowercase t, capital F, and lowercase t, lowercase f. And then you can fill in your boxes, and you only have to fill in 8 because you have one parent who only has 2 potential gametes. Then we can answer our questions. So letter D says how many plants will be tall with orange flowers. So you're looking for any plant that has at least one capital T and one capital F. And I found 6 of the 8 have a capital T and a capital F in the genotype. And then letter E says how many plants will be tall and white. And those plants have a capital T but then 2 small f's, so that's 2 of the